Good morning and welcome. Today we'll be doing our Super Self seminar, which deals with thought empowerment. And what we'll look at is how basically you as an individual are going to win back that power that at some place, somewhere, you gave away to somebody else without perhaps necessarily knowing that you gave it away. We're also going to look at techniques for creating a consciousness inside of you that's really powerful, that hones down, so that instead of you going into the physical plane and struggling with it and pushing for it and you know, sort of grabbing and harrying and working hard, that you can begin to move through the physical plane very, very fluidly. So you move into one place, everything shows up for you on time, then you move to another place, it shows up for you on time, and everything just flows naturally as it would in nature. If you look at the animals in the forest, they don't struggle. They don't go, I gotta try hard today. You know, the tiger doesn't get up in the morning and go, I'm gonna do my affirmations, I'm gonna stick the alfalfa sprouts up my nose, I'm gonna jog around the block, I'm gonna take my vitamins, and I'm gonna go out there and really zuck them in the forest today. In fact, the tiger just gets up, it sniffs under its little tiger armpits, and maybe it blows a little tiger wind or whatever it does, and it heads out. And it doesn't worry about eating, it doesn't worry about survival, it just goes through the forest naturally. Then round about lunchtime, there's this little deer on the path, and it has to run after the deer and get it, you know, and some of you are going to find that in life. You know, there's a point where you're going to have to, like, cross over, you know, cross town or something like that, go pick up the check, but it's not a problem. You know, there's a little bit of work involved in being in the physical plane because we're in our physical bodies, but life is supposed to be fluid, it's supposed to be gay, and what we're doing here, basically, as humans is we're picking up experiences. We're picking up experiences and picking up, like, the facts of life. We're not here to obey a whole bunch of rules and regulations that may have been laid down thousands of years ago when conditions were different. We're here basically as humans to come into our own empowerment, and that empowerment is what I call the life force, and that life force is love. And so you get to the point in your life where you just radiate absolute love for all things. And love, in my term, and I will talk about it later on some more, is not this kind of gooey, mushy, I love you stuff, you know, which is sort of, always seems to me like a sort of a wet lick in the air. It's more like a compassion for society, a compassion for the trials of mankind, a compassion for yourself, you know, where you're prepared to forgive yourself for any weaknesses or any parts of your life that are a little less than perfect. And so I think that, like, love in its highest expression is an ability to look at the world from an overview, be somewhat detached from it, and feel a compassion for it, and feel and understand that the people are all doing the very, very best they can, you know? They're doing their best given whatever circumstances they find themselves in. And when you get to that position in your life, and you can move through the physical plane fluidly, you have got the compassion, you have got this emotional detachment from society, then all of a sudden you begin to become free. And the whole object of the whole human experience is for you to win back your power, to win back your freedom. The societies we live in are totally designed to control you and to control me and to control all of us. You know, the institutions deal with control. All the financial systems are systems that deal with keeping the common man uninformed, unempowered, and supporting the system. Each one of you goes out each day and you support the country, you support the military, you support the institutions, you support the families, the neighborhoods, you run the bus systems, you run the trains, you give birth to the citizens, you nurture them, you feed them, you wipe you change their diapers and stuff, and it's always the common man that is asked to pay the bill. It's always the common man and the female, you know, the working woman who's asked to basically pay the bill for the entire thing. And if anything goes wrong or anything gets any kind of mistake is made or there's some kind of problem, they send you a love letter. It's called taxes. And they just crank up your taxes. They say, okay, we made this incredible mistake and we bought all these missiles and nobody figured out how to fire them and it's only going to cost $1 billion, but we're sending you the bill. Here, I'd take the bill. Please send us the cash Friday. And if you don't send the cash, they lock you up or they harry you or they jump on your case in some way, and so you have to pay. And as I look at that, I think, well, now who stands for us? Who stands for the common man? Who stands for this individual heroically moving towards this quintessence within herself or within himself? Who stands for our rights? Who stands for our quest in life? And who wins back our power for us? And if you look at society and you look at the history of the world, and I've always been very, very interested in the sort of historical perspective of how energy and peoples and philosophies has developed. If you look at the history of the world, nobody ever stands for us. You know, none of the societies are ever designed for the people. And the world isn't designed for the people. You only have to get into like an average bath in an average hotel, and you can see it's not designed for the people because the faucets are kind of these squiggly little things that you can't work with your feet. And you've either got to sit up at the end where the faucets are and burn your back, or you have to get up out of the bath to change how much water's in there. And as you look at those faucets, you think, they never thought this out for human beings. I mean, faucets are supposed to be worked with your feet, you know? And if there was a little handle with a little place for you to put your toe and you could work the faucets with your feet, you'd say, this world is designed for me. But of course it isn't. You get in an airline seat, and the airline seat doesn't have enough room for a passenger to actually sit in it. You know, and when the guy in front leans back on you, you know, you have even less room. And so you go all the way to Taiwan or whatever it is, 17 hours, looking at this piece of fabric on your nose. and then you can say to yourself, is this world designed for me? It isn't. It's designed for the airline. If you ever think that the passengers are anything to do with an airline, you're totally looly-looly. Because the passengers have nothing to do with it. You know, they just shoo us all on. And I do a lot of traveling as I go around the planet, and you watch people in airports. I mean, it's like, they're like automatons. They're sort of Kansas City, Oklahoma, and they're all scared out their brains, and the thing's uncomfortable, and they give you plastic food. In fact, I think the most dangerous thing about flying is eating the food, because, you know, that stuff is sort of sterilized. I think they mine it someplace. And it comes up, and there's a corporation that has, like, the franchise for mining this plastic. And the food grows out of the plastic, I think. I've got a feeling it does. But when you look at that, you know, you look at, I mean, the whole of the world is like that. And, of course, we take it so much for granted, and we take the uncomfortableness for granted. We take the difficulties for granted because they trained us to not complain, you know? Like, if you complain, you're not a good citizen, you know? Like, somehow you're going against, I don't know, the word of God or something. If you happen to say, look, this stuff's total garbage, I don't want to eat it. Anyway, as you look at that, you can rant and you can rave and you can say, wait a minute, you know, this isn't built for me, this isn't the society for me, what am I going to do about it? I want to change the society. The fact is that you can't change the society by going to it and pushing against them and saying, we want you to change, you know, we want a revolution, because all of that really sucks you right back into that same kind of energy that the society is built from. And when you look at the revolutions throughout history, what came after the revolution was usually at least as bad as what was going on before. You know, if not worse. So you replace, let's say, the oppressive Tsarist regime in Russia, the regime of the Romanovs, and you created, you know, the society for the people, the communist society, and it's equally restrictive, equally repressive. And as you look at the history of the world, the revolutions never really changed very much. And so as we look at that, and as we look at that as questing conscious individuals, we can say, okay, are we prepared to change society by fighting against it? Or do we do a sort of a withdrawal program on it and basically pull out somewhat, build our power, and then return back to the society, return back to the planet, and heal it? And that's personally how I think it's going to have to be done, because we're looking at a world today that really needs healing. It needs a lot of healing. It needs healing in finances. It needs healing in the way it deals with stress. It needs healing in the way that we've polluted our world and we've destroyed it. And we've done it all for the sake of commerce, for the sake of giving everybody all of this stuff. There isn't any discipline. There isn't any real righteousness in the world about the way we're handling this planet. And as we look at the physical plane and we look at our planet, we can see it wheezing and gasping to try to keep up with the amount of pollutants that we're putting into the world. One of the things that astounds me is that, you know, recently